settle in now and let the room around you become quiet. Tonight, we are going to Lake Como in the soft hours after sunset, when the last boats have crossed the water, when the mountains become dark blue shapes around the lake, when the villas begin to glow behind cypress trees, and when the small towns along the shore seem to float between reflection and dream. Before we begin, if you enjoy quiet sleep stories like this, you can subscribe for more calm journeys, peaceful travel stories, and relaxing bedtime narration. You can also leave a comment and tell us where you are listening from, what time it is where you are, and what peaceful place you would like to visit next. It is always wonderful to see how far these stories travel around the world. Now, get comfortable, let the room around you grow quiet, and allow the journey to begin. Lake Como does not arrive all at once. It appears gradually, through the windows of the evening train, first as a dark line beyond the trees, then as a narrow shimmer beside a road, then as a wide and sudden opening of water held between mountains. The lake is long and deep, shaped like a slow movement through stone. Its shores fold into coves and villages, into gardens, church towers, boat landings, and old villas built close enough to the water that their lights seem to belong to the surface itself. At night, the place becomes even more layered. The mountains do not disappear. They settle around the lake like sleeping guardians, their ridges only faintly visible against the sky. The towns grow smaller, not because they shrink, but because their lights become delicate. A few windows above a harbor, a terrace lamp beneath a vine, a church face lit softly in a square, the warm line of a restaurant closing near the water. Everything reflects. Every light has a second life below it, trembling gently whenever the lake moves. This is not the bright Lake Como of afternoon boats, crowded ferries, glossy sunlight, and voices rising from cafes. This is the lake after the day has loosened its grip. The air cools. The stone paths give back the warmth they held. The water turns black, then silver, then black again. The gardens become fragrant in the dark. Jasmine, wet leaves, old walls, lake air, and the faint scent of wood smoke from a village higher up the hill. You arrive in the early part of the night, when the sky still holds a little blue. The train has left you at a small lakeside town, not the largest town on the shore, not the busiest, just a quiet place with a station, a descending road, a few shuttered shops, and the feeling that the lake is waiting below. Your bag is light. Your steps are slower than they were in the morning. Travel has moved through you all day, and now it is becoming something gentler, something that asks not for excitement, but for arrival. You follow the road downhill. The lake is hidden at first by buildings and trees, but you can feel the space ahead of it. The air opens before the view does. A scooter passes once, then the street becomes quiet. A woman closes the door of a small bakery and pulls down the awning with both hands. A man in a white shirt stacks 2 chairs outside a cafe, then stops to look at the sky over the roofs. At the last turn of the road, the lake appears. It is darker than the sky and wider than the street had prepared you for. The water holds the first lamps from the waterfront in long, broken lines. Across the lake, tiny lights climb the opposite shore as if the mountain itself is slowly waking in the night. A ferry moves far away, almost silent, carrying a row of illuminated windows through the dark. You stop by the railing at the promenade. For a while, you do not continue. The journey has reached water, and water has a way of asking the body to pause. Chapter 1: The Promenade After Sunset. The promenade curves gently along the shore. It is made of stone, softened by time and evening damp, with a low wall on one side and old buildings on the other. Plain trees lean over parts of the walk, their leaves moving slightly in the breeze from the lake. Benches face the water. Some are empty. One holds an elderly man with a folded newspaper beside him, though he is no longer reading. He is looking out across the lake, as if he has done this many nights, and still finds enough reason to remain. You walk slowly past him. The town behind you is settling into the hour after dinner. Plates are being cleared inside restaurants. Cups are set down on saucers. A door opens and releases a small wave of voices, then closes again, leaving only the lake and the soft sound of your footsteps. The promenade lamps have just come on. Their light is warm, almost honey-colored, and it gathers on the wet edges of the stone. The lake moves without hurry. Small waves touch the wall below the promenade and withdraw. They make a sound too gentle to call a splash, more like cloth being folded in the dark. The rhythm is uneven enough to stay alive, steady enough to calm the mind. You pass a boat landing with a painted sign and a timetable behind glass. The last public boat has gone. The landing rocks faintly in the water, held by ropes that tighten and release, tighten and release. A small metal chain taps once against the post, then becomes still. Across the lake, the opposite villages look far away and close at the same time. Their lights do not shout across the water. They arrive in fragments. A white church tower, a row of windows near a harbor, a villa hidden among trees, a road climbing the mountain, marked by tiny points of light that appear and disappear behind cypress and stone. You continue along the promenade until the town begins to thin. The restaurants become fewer, the shop windows darker, the benches farther apart. The trees begin to lean closer to the water, and the sound of the lake becomes clearer. You find a bench beneath a lamp, close enough to the shore that you can see the reflections gather and break beneath you. You sit. The bench is cool, but the air is mild. The mountains on the far side have become deep blue shapes. Above them, the first stars are appearing. Not many yet, because the villages still glow, and the sky is not fully dark, but enough to remind you that night is opening. Sitting here, you begin to feel the shape of Lake Como differently. During the day, it can seem like a place of movement. Boats crossing, people walking, terraces filling, bells ringing, footsteps on ferry decks, voices in several languages, sunlight on water so bright it almost lifts from the surface. But at night, the lake becomes a long, quiet room. The mountains are the walls. The sky is the ceiling. The water is the floor, dark and slowly breathing. You do not need to see all of it. You only need this part, this bench, this lamp, this slow water. A small boat passes nearer now, not a ferry, only a private boat moving carefully along the shore. Its engine is low and even. Two people sit inside beneath a small canopy. They do not speak loudly. The boat leaves a soft V-shaped wake that travels toward the wall, reaches you after the boat has moved on, and turns the lamp reflections into trembling gold. Then the water settles again. You remain on the bench until the old man with the newspaper rises, folds the paper under one arm, and walks back toward town. His steps are unhurried. He does not look back at the lake. Perhaps he knows it will be there tomorrow. You stand too. The promenade continues ahead, toward a small harbor, and beyond that, toward the inn where you will sleep. Chapter 2. The small harbor. The harbor is tucked into a curve of stone walls. By day, it would be busy with boats, ropes, people boarding ferries, visitors asking about schedules, and children leaning too far over the edge to look at the water. Now it is almost still. The boats rest side by side, each one lifting and lowering slightly as the lake breathes beneath it. A few are wooden, varnished, old in a cared-for way. Others are small white motorboats with canvas covers drawn tight against dew. One narrow boat has a blue stripe along its side and a coil of rope placed neatly on the bow. A red buoy moves near the wall, its reflection stretching downward into darkness. You walk along the harbor edge, keeping a respectful distance from the ropes. The smell here is different from the promenade. Less flowers, more water, old wood, rope, stone, and faint fuel from engines long since turned off. It is not unpleasant. It is the working smell of a place where beauty and usefulness share the same shore. At the end of the harbor, a fisherman is closing a small shed. He is not old, not young, just part of the evening. He checks the lock, pulls once on the door, then turns toward the boats. For a moment, he stands completely still, looking at the water. Perhaps he is checking the weather. Perhaps he is only doing what people do when they live beside a lake, looking at it one more time before going home. He notices you and gives a small nod. You nod back. No conversation is needed. The harbor has its own language tonight. Ropes rubbing softly against posts. Water touching stone. The faint creak of a boat cover. A bell from somewhere in town, not loud. Just one low note moving over the rooftops and out across the lake. You stop near the smallest boat. Rainwater from earlier in the week has gathered in a shallow dip of its cover, reflecting a little piece of sky. Above that small mirror, the real sky is darkening. The same world held twice, once above, once in the boat, once again in the lake beside it. Lake Como seems to multiply light in this way. A lamp becomes a reflection. A window becomes a golden line. A star becomes uncertain on the water. Even a quiet thought can feel doubled here. One version in you, one version floating outside, easier to release. You leave the harbor by a narrow path that climbs behind it. The path is paved with old stone and bordered by low walls. On the left, a garden rises in terraces. You can see cypress trees standing dark and still, and below them, the pale shapes of flowers whose colors have almost disappeared in the night. A gate is closed, but from inside comes the sound of a small fountain. Water again, not the lake this time. A gentler, thinner sound. A thread of water falling into a basin somewhere among leaves. You pause beside the gate. Through the ironwork, you can see only part of the garden. A gravel path, a clipped hedge, the base of a statue, a lemon tree in a large terracotta pot. The fountain itself is hidden, but its sound gives the garden depth. You do not enter. You listen. Some places are more peaceful when they remain partly unseen. After a minute, you continue climbing, and the lake begins to appear behind you through breaks in the wall. Each time you turn, the water has changed a little. Darker now. Smoother. The harbor lamps smaller. The boats gathered below like sleeping animals. At the top of the path, you reach a small square. Chapter 3. The village square. The square is not grand. That is why it feels immediately restful. It has a church with a pale facade, a stone fountain at the center, a few closed shops, and a cafe with 3 tables still outside beneath an awning. The church door is closed. The fountain runs quietly, its water falling from a small spout into a round basin worn smooth at the edge. The square is paved in uneven stone, and in the lamplight, the stones look like they have been polished by centuries of evenings. 2 people sit at one of the cafe tables, speaking softly over small glasses. The owner stands inside, wiping the counter, not rushing them. On another table, a candle burns inside a glass jar. The flame leans whenever the breeze comes up from the lake. You choose the empty table farthest from the door. The owner sees you through the open front and lifts a hand. A moment later, he comes out and asks, in a voice softened by the hour, if you would like tea, water, or something warm with lemon. You choose the warm lemon drink because it feels right beside a lake at night. He brings it in a thick glass. The steam rises gently. The scent is bright, but not sharp. Lemon, honey, hot water, and perhaps a leaf of something from a pot by the kitchen. You hold the glass with both hands and feel the warmth enter your fingers. The square is quiet enough that you can hear the fountain and the cafe cups at the same time. Above the church, the bell tower is lit from below. It rises simply against the dark slope of the mountain. Higher up, a few houses are scattered among trees, their lights tucked into the hillside. The village seems to continue upward in small hidden pieces, but the square is where it has gathered itself for the night. You sip slowly. The two people at the other table finish their drinks, leave coins beneath the glass jar, and walk away down a lane. The owner clears their table, then returns inside. The candle remains. The fountain continues. Now you are the only person seated in the square. It does not feel lonely. The village is too close around you for loneliness. Behind shutters, people are home. Above the cafe, someone moves across a room and the floorboards give one quiet sound. A television murmurs behind a window, then goes silent. Somewhere a dog sighs or shifts in sleep. A scooter passes on the road below and fades quickly. You finish the warm drink. The owner comes out again, not to hurry you, only to collect the glass when you are ready. You thank him. He smiles, says something kind and simple about the night being beautiful after the day has been warm, and returns inside. A few minutes later, the cafe light goes lower. You rise from the table and cross the square to the fountain. The water in the basin reflects the church facade in broken pieces. You touch the stone edge. It is cool and slightly damp. The fountain has probably been here longer than many things around it. People have filled bottles, washed hands, paused beside it, waited for friends, met neighbors, listened to bells, stood in summer heat, crossed in winter rain. Tonight, it offers only a small sound in a quiet square. That is enough. You follow the lane beside the church, the one that slopes back toward the lake through old houses and garden walls. Chapter 4. VILLAS, behind cypress trees. The lane is narrower than the road you climbed. It moves between walls and gates, past villas whose names are written on small plaques near the entrances. Some are hidden almost completely by gardens. Others show a pale facade through cypress trunks and ironwork. At night, you see them only in fragments. A balcony, a column, a lamp in an upstairs room, a staircase curving down toward the water. The houses do not feel like displays now. They feel asleep. Their beauty has turned inward. The terraces are empty. The garden paths are dark. The windows that glow are not for admiration. They are rooms where someone has left a lamp on beside a chair, or where a curtain has not yet been drawn. You pass quietly because the lane asks for quiet. On one wall, jasmine spills over in pale clusters. The scent is stronger in the dark. You slow without deciding to. The flowers are almost invisible, but their fragrance fills the lane, mixing with lake air and damp stone. A breeze moves through them, and a few petals fall onto the wall below. Beyond the wall, a gravel path curves toward a villa entrance where two lanterns glow beside a door. The lane descends. Through the cypress trees, you catch glimpses of the lake again. Each glimpse is brief and framed differently. A silver strip between trunks, a black surface below a balcony, a distant boat light sliding behind leaves. The lake is always there, but never fully shown from this path. It appears the way a memory appears while walking, in pieces, then gone, then back again. You come to a place where the wall opens to a small public overlook. There is no sign, no crowd, just a break in the stone and a bench facing the water. The bench is old, its paint worn near the edges. You sit because the view asks gently, not loudly. From here, the town below looks like a handful of lights placed carefully along the shore. The harbor is visible, smaller now. The promenade curves away to the left. Across the lake, the opposite villages shimmer in the dark. Above them, the mountain rises with almost no detail, only a great quiet shape. The night has deepened. The lake is no longer a scene to look at. It is a presence to rest beside. You sit with that for a while. A soft wind moves across the overlook, carrying the jasmine sent down from the lane. It touches your face and then passes toward the lake. Somewhere below, a restaurant door closes. Farther away, a fairy horn sounds once, very low, as if from another dream. You close your eyes. The view remains in other forms. Water below, flowers behind, stone beneath, mountains around. Your breath begins to take the shape of the place. Slow in, slow out. When you open your eyes again, nothing dramatic has changed. That is part of the comfort. The town is still below, the lake still dark, the mountains still holding the night. You stand and continue down the lane. The inn is not far now, but the path will pass the water once more before you reach it. Chapter 5. The Boatman's Path. The lane becomes a stairway. Old stone steps lead down between walls covered in ivy and night-dark leaves. A narrow channel of rainwater runs along one side from a spring or a garden drain higher up the hill. The steps are uneven, so you move with care, one hand near the wall, not rushing. At the bottom, you reach a path that runs just above the water. It is narrower than the promenade and quieter than the harbor. Perhaps it was once used by boatmen, gardeners, people moving between houses and landings before the roads were easy. Now it feels like a secret edge of the town. The lake is only a few feet away, touching the stones below with its small, continuous sound. You follow the path. Here, the villas are behind you and above you. Their gardens descend in terraces toward private docks. You pass one dock with a closed gate and a lantern glowing at the end. The lantern light pools on the boards and then slips into the water, where it stretches into a wavering golden shape. A wooden boat is tied nearby. It rocks gently, almost imperceptibly. Each movement makes the rope tighten and relax. The sound is small, but clear in the quiet. You stand beside the gate and watch the boat for a while, not because it does anything remarkable, but because its stillness contains movement. The lake is like that too, stillness containing movement. The path bends around a stone wall and brings you close to the water. You can see rounded pebbles beneath the surface, pale where the lamp reaches them, disappearing into darkness a few feet away. A leaf floats near the edge, turning slowly each time A small wave touches it. You walk on. A covered passage appears ahead, built beneath part of an old house. The ceiling is low, and the air inside smells of stone, wood, and cool water. As you pass through, the lake sound becomes deeper, held briefly by the walls. Your footsteps echo once, twice, then soften again as you emerge. On the other side, the path widens near a little landing. There's a bench here, and beside it, a sign too faded to read clearly in the dark. You sit only for a minute. The lake is so close that you feel almost level with it. Across the water, the lights have blurred slightly, perhaps because your eyes are tired, perhaps because a thin mist has begun to rise. Mist changes the lake. It softens the distance first, then the reflections. The far shore becomes less exact. The mountains lose their edges. The water seems wider because it is less defined. You can still see the lights, but they appear now as if they are floating in the air rather than attached to villages. The effect is peaceful. The world does not disappear. It simply becomes less demanding. You stand again, and the path leads toward the inn at last. A low building appears ahead, warm behind trees, with a small sign, a terrace, and steps leading up from the lakeside path. Chapter 6. The inn by the water. The inn is old, without trying to prove it. Its walls are pale, with green shutters and a low tiled roof. A wisteria vine has been trained along part of the terrace, though in the night you see mostly its dark twisting branches and a few leaves moving in the breeze. Lamps glow beneath the arches. A small table near the entrance holds a bowl of lemons, their color muted by warm light. You climb the steps from the water path. The terrace is empty, except for one staff member folding napkins at a table. She looks up, smiles, and greets you softly. Not the polished greeting of a large hotel, but the gentle recognition of someone expecting a late arrival. Inside, the inn is quiet. The floor is old tile. The walls hold framed photographs of the lake from earlier decades. Boats with canvas roofs, women in summer dresses, men standing beside wooden docks, mountains unchanged behind them. A small desk lamp glows at reception. Somewhere deeper in the building, dishes are being put away in a kitchen. Your room is ready. The key is placed in your hand with a small brass tag. The staircase is narrow and turns once before reaching the upper floor. As you climb, you pass a window overlooking the lake. Through the glass, the water is dark and close, and one lamp from the terrace reflects below like a trembling ribbon. Your room is on the second floor. When the door opens, the first thing you notice is the sound. Not loud. The lake just beyond the balcony. Small waves against stone. A soft movement, continuous and low. The kind of sound that does not interrupt thought, but slowly persuades thought to become quieter. The room is simple and graceful. A bed with white linen, a wooden chair, a small writing desk, a wardrobe, a lamp with with a warm shade. Shutters opened toward the balcony. A glass bottle of water on the bedside table. The air smells faintly of clean cotton, old wood, and lake wind. You set down your bag. The room becomes yours in small gestures. Coat on the chair, shoes near the wall, bag beside the wardrobe, key on the desk. Window opened a little wider. A glass of water poured and left within reach. Each action tells the body that travel is ending. You step onto the balcony. The balcony is small, just wide enough for 2 chairs and a table. Below, the lake touches the stone edge of the inn. Across the water, the village lights continue their quiet trembling. To the left, the harbor is almost hidden by the curve of the shore. To the right, the dark line of the mountains moves down into the lake. You sit in one of the balcony chairs. For the first time all night, you are not on the way to somewhere else. The promenade, the harbor, the square, the villa lane, the boatman's path, all of it has led here. Not to a famous viewpoint, not to a grand conclusion, but to this small balcony above dark water. That is the right ending for Lake Como. Not spectacle, stillness with depth. A few minutes pass, then a few more. A light goes out across the lake. Another appears higher on the mountain. The water continues. A moth touches the balcony lamp once, then disappears into the dark. The chair holds you. The night asks nothing. Eventually, you go inside, but you leave the balcony door open. Chapter 7. Tea on the terrace. Before you go fully inside for the night, the inn offers one more quiet kindness. The staff member who greeted you earlier appears at the terrace door with a tray and asks whether you would like a small pot of tea before sleep. Her voice is low, as if she knows the lake is listening too. You accept, not because you need anything, but because the hour feels made for one last warm cup beside the water. The terrace lamps have been turned lower now. Most of the tables are empty. The napkins are folded and brought inside. The chairs rest beneath the arches, with their shadows leaning across the tiles. Only one table has been left prepared near the edge of the terrace, close enough to the lake that you can hear every small touch of water against the stone below. You sit there. The tea arrives in a white pot with a small cup and a thin slice of lemon on a saucer. The steam rises and disappears almost immediately in the cool air. You pour slowly, watching the cup fill with pale amber light. The taste is mild, with a hint of herbs, not strong enough to wake the body, only warm enough to invite it toward rest. The inn behind you grows quieter. A door closes softly in the kitchen. Footsteps move once across the tiled floor, then stop. Somewhere upstairs, a window latch clicks. After that, the only steady sound is the lake, moving below the terrace in its patient way. From here, you can see the curve of the shore more clearly than from the balcony. The promenade where you first stopped is now only a line of lamps. The harbor is a small pocket of darkness holding a few points of gold. The church tower above the square has gone dim, though its shape remains faintly visible against the hillside. The villa lane is hidden behind trees, but you know it is there, carrying the scent of jasmine through the night. Knowing the path is there is different from seeing it. It makes the town feel familiar without making it smaller. A good place keeps part of itself beyond reach. You hold the cup in both hands and let your elbows rest on the table. The heat moves into your palms. The lake air touches your face. For the first time tonight, you feel not only that you have arrived at Lake Como, but that the lake has begun to arrive inside you. It does this quietly, not as a memory of scenery, more as a rhythm, the slower pace of the water, the way the mountains make every sound gentler, the way light doubles itself on the surface, the way an evening walk can become enough when there is no need to collect anything from it. A small moth circles the terrace lamp. It moves in a loose, unsteady ring, then settles on the wall and becomes still. Below, a fish touches the surface of the lake, making a circle that spreads outward until it disappears among the reflections. You watch the circle widen. That small movement seems to explain the whole night. One step from the station, one pause at the railing, one drink in the square, one path beside the water. Each simple action moved outward, touching the next, until the whole evening became a calm shape around you. You finish the tea slowly. The cup makes a quiet sound when you place it back on the saucer. The terrace light glows on the empty pot. The lemon slice shines faintly, then grows dim as a small cloud covers the moon. For a few moments, the lake becomes almost completely dark. Then the cloud moves on, and the water returns in silver lines. You breathe in. The scent of lemon remains on your fingers. You breathe out. The terrace, the lake, the mountains, and the room above all seem to settle into the same silence. When you stand, you do it carefully, as if not wanting to disturb the hour. You leave the tray where it is. Someone will collect it in the morning. The inn does not need you to finish the night perfectly. It only needs you to let it end. At the door, you turn once more toward the water. The lake is darker now than it was when you arrived, but it also feels closer. The first sight of it from the road was wide and surprising. Now it is intimate. It has become the sound below your balcony, the reflection beneath the harbor lamps, the dark edge beside the boatman's path, the breathing presence that will remain after your eyes close. You go upstairs slowly. The staircase is warm from the building, and the window on the landing shows only a small portion of the lake, but that small portion is enough. A ribbon of reflected light, a black surface moving beneath it, a suggestion of the far shore. You continue to the room, carrying the last warmth of tea with you. Chapter 8. The room with the open door. Inside the room, the lake remains present. The open balcony door lets in the sound of water and a cool thread of air. The curtains move slowly, not continuously, only when the breeze finds them. The lamp beside the bed is low enough that the corners of the room stay soft. You prepare for sleep without hurry. A glass of water, a folded coat, the small bag closed, the balcony chair visible through the doorway, the dark lake beyond it. Nothing here needs organizing beyond these simple things. The room has already done most of the work for you. You sit on the edge of the bed. The linen is cool at first, the kind of cool that feels clean after a day of travel. You listen to the lake for a while before lying down. The sound is not exactly like waves on a beach. It is smaller, closer, shaped by stone and narrow shores. It touches, withdraws, returns, and each time it seems to bring the night a little nearer. The village across the lake is quieter now. Fewer windows, softer reflections. The fairy lights are gone. Only small fixed points remain, and even those blur when the water moves. The mountains have become one dark shape, but you feel them more than you see them. Their presence gives the room a sheltered feeling, as if the whole lake is held in a bowl of sleep. You lie down. For a moment, your body remembers the walk, the downhill road from the station, the promenade stones, the harbor wall, the climb to the village square, the warm lemon drink, the jasmine lane, the overlook, the old steps, the path by the water, the inn terrace, the balcony chair. But the memories do not arrive as a list. They arrive as one continuous movement. The way a boat's wake travels across water after the boat itself has gone. You let them pass. The lamp is turned off. The room becomes blue, then gray, then almost dark. The open balcony door frames the lake in a rectangle of night. The curtain lifts and falls. A small wave touches the wall below. Another follows, softer. There is nothing to finish, nothing to decide. The lake has taken the day and smoothed it. You can let it smooth you too. You remain awake a little longer, but not in a restless way. There is a kind of wakefulness that belongs to travel nights, a quiet interval when the body is tired and the mind is no longer planning. Yet sleep has not fully arrived. In that interval, the room feels especially clear. The shape of the chair, the pale square of the balcony doorway, the line of the curtain, the small shine on the glass of water, the folded coat holding the form of the day. You turn slightly toward the open door and listen. The lake does not repeat itself exactly. One wave is a little softer. The next comes a little sooner. Another touches the wall with a darker sound. Then there is a pause long enough to make the following wave feel like a response. The pattern is never mechanical, and that is why it is soothing. It does not count for you. It does not ask you to count. It only continues. Somewhere across the water, a last motorboat moves along the shore. You do not see it at first. You hear it as a low thread beneath the water sounds, and then a small light appears between the curtains. It moves slowly, far enough away to feel like part of the lake rather than an interruption. For a minute, it travels through the dark, then turns behind a point of land. and is gone. The wake arrives much later. By then the boat is only memory. The small waves reach the stone below the inn, touch it in a soft sequence, and settle back into the broader rhythm of the lake. The delay is comforting. It reminds you that not everything must be immediate. Some things travel quietly before they arrive. Your breathing begins to follow that idea. Not forced, not counted, just a little slower after each exhale. The room grows softer around the edges. The ceiling, the wardrobe, the desk, the chair, the door. They lose importance without disappearing. They become part of the background that lets sleep come nearer. You remember the first moment the lake appeared at the end of the road, and how you stopped without meaning to. That first pause now feels like the beginning of this rest. The whole evening has been teaching the same lesson in different ways. Stop long enough, and a place will become quiet enough to enter you. The promenade taught it with lamps on stone. The harbor taught it with boats and ropes. The square taught it with a fountain and a warm glass. The villa lane taught it with jasmine and hidden gardens. The water path taught it with the closeness of the shore. The inn teaches it now with an open balcony door and a bed beside the lake. You do not hold these as separate stops anymore. They fold into one another, like reflections joining on the surface when the water moves. The exact order no longer matters. What remains is the feeling of having walked gently through an evening and arrived somewhere quiet. That feeling is enough to sleep inside. Final descent. The lake in the dark. Now let the story become softer. There is nowhere else to go tonight. No more streets to follow. No more harbors to pass. No more lanes to climb. No more views to reach. Lake Como has given you the train window, the promenade after sunset, the small harbor, the village square, the villas behind cypress trees, the path beside the water, the inn by the lake, and now this room with the balcony door open to the night. Let that be enough. The bed is still. The room is dark. The water is close. The mountains hold the lake without effort. Breathe in slowly. Cool air from the balcony. Breathe out. The last movement of the day. Breathe in. The sound of the lake. Breathe out. The body settling. If thoughts come, let them become reflections on the water. A window, a lamp, a small boat, a memory from the promenade, a face from the cafe, the warm glass in your hands, the scent of jasmine in the lane. Each one can shimmer for a moment, then loosen, lengthen, and break gently into darkness. You do not have to keep them clear. The lake is keeping enough. Let the harbor rest. The ropes are still. The boats lift and lower softly. The red buoy moves in its small circle. The stone wall cools under the night air. Let the square rest. The cafe tables are empty. The church door is closed. The fountain continues in the dark. The candle has gone out. Let the villa lane rest. The jasmine is still fragrant. The gates are closed. The cypress trees stand against the mountain. The lamps behind the gardens are low and warm. Let the path by the water rest. The wooden boat rocks once, then settles. The private dock holds its lantern. The stones beneath the surface are hidden now. The mist gathers lightly over the lake. And let the room hold you. Feet soft after walking, legs heavy, hips resting, shoulders lowering, hands open, jaw loose, eyes quiet, the whole body allowed to become still. Outside, the lake continues its small conversation with the shore. Touch, withdraw, return. Touch, withdraw, return. The sound becomes less like something you hear and more like something the room is made of. Water, darkness, air, linen, old wood, distant lights, and the slow breathing of the night. You are not waiting for sleep. You are only making room for it. Sleep can come the way the evening came to the lake. First in the mountains, then on the water, then in the windows, then in the lanes, then finally in the room. Slowly, naturally, without hurry, the balcony curtain moves once. The lake below answers with a soft wave. Across the water, another light goes out. The village becomes darker and more peaceful. Nothing is lost. Everything is simply resting. Breathe in and out. Again, in and out. The room is safe. The lake is calm. The mountains are still. The night is deep. You can let the story fade now. You can let the shore fade. You can let the lights fade. You can let the water carry the last small thoughts away from the room, away from the balcony, away across the dark surface, until there is only the soft sound returning below you. Nothing more from the promenade, nothing more from the harbor, nothing more from the village square, nothing more from the road, nothing more to follow. Only the lake, only the room, only rest. The night outside does not ask for attention anymore. It offers attention back to you, quietly, the way dark water offers back a softer version of every light. The day that brought you here is no longer pressing forward. It has become part of the shore behind you. You can feel the weight of travel leaving the body in small places, behind the knees, across the shoulders, in the hands, which no longer need to carry anything, in the face, which no longer needs to look interested or awake. Even the breath seems to understand that the evening has completed itself. The lake moves below, and the room answers with stillness. A little air enters from the balcony. It crosses the floor slowly, cools the edge of the sheet, touches the glass on the table, and disappears into the warmth near the bed. The curtain moves only after the air has already passed, as if remembering it. There is comfort in that delay. A wave touches the wall. A moment later, the sound reaches the room. A light glows across the water. A moment later, its reflection breaks. Somewhere higher on the mountain, a house goes dark. A moment later, the far shore feels wider. Everything happens gently enough that the mind does not need to follow. Let the lake do the following. Let the mountains do the holding. Let the room do the keeping. And let the body do only what it already knows how to do when it is safe, warm, and tired. Rest. The evening has narrowed to simple things now. The open door, the cool linen, the dark water, the small sound below. The sense of a village asleep nearby, close enough to comfort you, far enough not to ask anything from you. If an image returns, let it return softly. The first glimpse of water at the end of the road, the old man on the promenade, the quiet harbor, the church square, the scent of jasmine, the balcony chair, the cup of tea on the terrace. Then let each image lose its border and become part of the same dark lake. Nothing needs to stay separate now. The whole night can become one slow reflection, a reflection of lights, a reflection of mountains, a reflection of rest, and you can drift beneath it, not away from the world, but deeper into the gentle part of it. Sleep now. Lake Como is quiet. The balcony door is open. The water moves gently below, and the night holds everything